Have the 8-6 Los Angeles Chargers taking on the 9-5 Denver Broncos in LA. This is your Week 16 2024 prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe if you're new. Also hit the like button. This is not the first time that these two teams have faced off against each other. They faced each other earlier in the year, and the Los Angeles Chargers won that game 23-17. We'll talk about what happened in that matchup and what happened last week for both respective teams. But let's start off with the home team, the Los Angeles Chargers. Last week was a tough week. In the second half, the Los Angeles Chargers did not score a single point, and they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 40-17. And on the day, Justin Herbert was 21 of 33, 195 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He got sacked 3 times. He came out and said that his ankle was okay. For the ones that don't know, he got banged up against the Kansas City Chiefs a couple weeks ago, Sunday Night Football. He didn't look the same outside the pocket. That is something to monitor in this matchup against the Denver Broncos, against one of the best defenses in the NFL. In this game, you have to find a way to go out there and run the football with more consistency. Last week, Gus Edwards only had 23 rushing yards on 8 carries. That's 3 yards a carry. And the longest rush of the day was for 8 rushing yards. They missed J.K. Dobbins, and J.K. Dobbins was a huge piece of the puzzle to why they won that game over the Denver Broncos many weeks ago. When I look at this Chargers team, explosive plays are going to be your best friend. Right now, Riley Moss is listed as out for this game, the starting cornerback for the Denver Broncos, and he's been a very good starter all season long. But the last 2 games, the Denver Broncos have given up big splash plays in the secondary. If I'm Greg Roman, I'm Justin Herbert, I'm targeting Levi Wallace all game, especially in man-to-man situations. You want to make life easy on Justin Herbert. And it's going to start this offensive line and creativity moving the field with your wide receivers in Ladd McConkey and also Quentin Johnston. Ladd McConkey last week was able to return to the starting lineup. 5 catches, 58 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Quentin Johnston, 45 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Smart, your tight end, 50 receiving yards on the day. You want to get more consistency out of your wide receivers. No Will Dissly for this matchup. So Stone Smart has to continue to step up and be that red zone threat and be that short yardage tight end. In short yardage situations, you have to go out there and feed him. The wide receivers, when Quentin Johnston is the number 1, you've run into problems. But when you have Ladd McConkey on the field, you see the wide receiving core be good enough to get you over the hump. You have to feed the wide receivers and be more creative down the field. And that just comes with play calling from Greg Roman. I'm worried about the rushing attack in this game with the Chargers because you're going against the Denver Broncos. They have the 5th best rushing defense in the NFL. And in order for this offense to work, you have to run the football with over 23 yards in the game. Whether you're getting rushing production out of Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, Justin Herbert, Gus Edwards, whomever, someone has to step up as a rusher. And I know that I'm listing off wide receivers, but you can run end-around plays with wide receivers, and that is what Greg Roman did in the first encounter against the Denver Broncos. We've seen this with Greg Roman in the past when he was an offensive coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers and also with the Baltimore Ravens. They live off the run. If they can't run the football in this matchup and they can't bully the Denver Broncos up front, it is going to be an ugly game for the Los Angeles Chargers offensively. And we've seen them go out there and win ugly offensive games. They did it a couple weeks back against the Atlanta Falcons. They got a pick 6 in that matchup, and that's basically what sealed in the game for the Los Angeles Chargers. Their defense is going to have to step up, and they're going to have to watch out for the rushing attack with the Denver Broncos. You're going to have to dominate this offensive line. In that first encounter, they forced Bo Nix into a lot of tough situations. As a matter of fact, Bo Nix, when he first went against the Los Angeles Chargers in the first half, wasn't looking too hot. On the day, he was 19 of 33, 216 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. But this is the key. Bo Nix was the leading rusher. And whenever Bo Nix has been the leading rusher for the Denver Broncos in a game this season, usually the Denver Broncos, they don't win those games because you're putting extra stress on a rookie quarterback and you're making him get frustrated. I could see the Chargers going out there and being conservative on the offensive end with Justin Herbert and finding a way to play through their defense like how they did against the Atlanta Falcons. This is a defense with the Chargers. It hasn't been the same over the last 2 to 3 weeks. It is still one of the better defenses in the NFL, but they let up some big plays to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the first half. They let up a lot of big plays last week in the second half to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it starts with stopping the run and forcing Bo Nix to go into uncomfortable situations. Bo Nix, In his last 2 games, has thrown 5 interceptions. 3 last week against the Indianapolis Colts and 2 against the Denver Broncos. Put that pressure on Bo Nix and take the run game away. They did a very good job of stopping Courtland Sutton. They made Devon be the leading wide receiver in the first encounter. He had 78 receiving yards, while Courtland Sutton had 53 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. And be on lookout for Troy Franklin. He's a sneaky wide receiver, especially in red zone situations, because he has that connection with Bo Nix. But I'm looking at Khalil Mack and I'm looking at Thule. Can they go back there and can they put enough pressure on Bo Nix? Because if you can, this is a winnable football game. It's going to be a winnable football game regardless because it's a quick turnaround and both of these teams' defenses are amazing. But when I look at the Chargers, last week you only sacked Baker Mayfield once. And it's because you went out there and you ran a lot of light boxes. You only had 2 to 3 guys in the box. In this matchup, Bo Nix, he has the ability to go out there and use his legs. I'm not saying go out there and put up a spy, but I would not just have a light box in this matchup. When it's 3rd and 5, similar to how things were against Baker Mayfield, they only rushed 3 defensive linemen. And it left you compromised on the back end. For the ones that don't know, you're not going to go out there and play complete zone coverage where you're only rushing 3 or just 2 defensive linemen. You're going to go out there and play man with safety help over top. And when you're playing man, every cornerback is worried about his own guy. Their face is not towards the quarterback. They're worried about wide receivers coming across their face. They're worried about wide receivers going behind them. So their body is in the completely opposite direction. And when you're only rushing 3 defensive linemen, a quarterback like Bo Nix, how smart he is, even though he's a rookie, he can see a rushing lane and he can take off. He's a very good athlete. We saw this against the New Orleans Saints, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and also last week against the Indianapolis Colts and against the Cleveland Browns. Do not let Bo Nix go out there and use his athleticism to kill you with his legs and choke off that run game. Make someone else besides Courtland Sutton beat you for the entire day. But it's going to start with defensive pressure up front from Joey Bosa, Thule, and Khalil Mack. Be on the lookout for Poona Ford. Poona Ford could possibly go out there and have a great game against the Denver Broncos. 3 sacks on the season, 1 interception, but he's one of those guys that you look at, he's great at pushing the pocket and just stopping the run as a whole. When I look at the secondary with the Chargers, Cam Hart is questionable, but he's on pace to play in this matchup. Elijah Molden, right now, he's dealing with a knee injury. He wasn't able to practice on Monday. 3 interceptions on the season, 7 pass deflections. That's a key player to have in the secondary. And I look at Christian Fulton, has been their true number 1 corner all season long. He's questionable, but he's on pace to play in this matchup. Play press man coverage in this game, regardless with the cornerbacks that you have. Because when you went against the Atlanta Falcons, your defense was beat up and banged up. You still played that man coverage, and you was able to get away with a lot of good things. I think the Chargers defense will step up in this matchup. They're going to make life tough on Bo Nix. And before I go back to the Denver Broncos, in that first matchup, the Chargers in the first half, they dominated. In the second half, they let the lead get away from them. Justin Herbert, 237 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. When I talk about J.K. Dobbins being a dominant threat on the field against the Broncos, he had 96 rushing yards, averaged 4 yards a carry, 1 rushing touchdown, and he was ripping off big runs. Got to find a guy to go out there and be an explosive threat. Now let's talk about the Denver Broncos, because the Chargers lost last week. The same can't be said with the Denver Broncos. They beat the Indianapolis Colts 31-13. It was a tough day offensively. Bo Nix was 20 of 33 for only 130 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, that's great, to 3 interceptions. And like I mentioned before, in his last 2 games, Bo Nix has thrown 5 interceptions. He's reverting to how he looked early on this season. Against the Cleveland Browns, he played solid. One of the interceptions were not on him. It was a tip pick across the middle, but he's putting the football into harm's way because he's not being patient. Take what the defense gives you. You saw that against the Cleveland Browns. We've seen this against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints this season also, even though he had good games against the Saints and the Buccaneers. Every play doesn't have to be a big, deep play going down the middle of the field. I can see Sean Payton going out there and reeling Bo Nix back and just trying to run more screens and just run the football with the running backs and run this offense through Courtland Sutton. And that's what I would do in this matchup. Courtland Sutton is a very good red zone target, and he's very good in short yardage situations. Courtland Sutton, 3 catches, 32 receiving yards last week, 1 receiving touchdown. Adam Troutman, the big tight end, 2 catches, 20 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Use those guys in space. Then you can dunk your way down the field and try to impose your will up front. The Denver Broncos running backs, they're solid. But the interior with this offensive line, they're having a problem right now pushing the defensive tackles. And I can see that being a problem in this matchup. Now, the Chargers rushing defense is 18th in the NFL. That's a catfish stat. Majority of the rushing yards they have given up have been big plays, but that's when the game was out of hand. They give up big chunk rushing plays. But as a standard rushing defense, it's not that bad. They run a lot of light boxes. You can try to take advantage of that, but they have a fast defense with Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and Thule. You want to use misdirection. And now Sean Payton has not done much of that this season. He's done that in the past with Russell Wilson, with Drew Brees. That can help out Bo Nix with the Denver Broncos. Use misdirection with the running backs. Use more motion. Do motion screens. You don't want the Chargers to go out there and just be aggressive, then start to send blitzes at you the entire day. Because even though the Chargers are down without one of their starting safeties, Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator, will still put an extra safety on the field. You have an extra defensive back that can go out there and tackle. You have Derwin James. He's essentially a linebacker / safety. He's going to go out there, lay the boom, stop the run. He's going to make the quarterback life a living hell. You want to take care of Bo Nix. Yes, it comes down to him, but I'm looking at Sean Payton. Reel him back. Do what you did against the Buccaneers. Do what you did against the New Orleans Saints. Run the football. And Bo Nix just has to take care of the football. And I'm looking at the running backs in this matchup. Javonte Williams, this is not the best matchup for him because he's a slower running back. When you go against a speed team like this, Jaleel has to step up. He only had 21 rushing yards last week. And estimate only 13 rushing yards on 5 attempts. Run the football more and trust your running backs and get them involved in the screen game. Jaleel also had 3 catches for 13 receiving yards. So I can see Sean Payton going out there running more screens to try to work off of play action just to basically condense the field, and then you can open the field up to a guy like Marvin Mims, who had a monster game against the Cleveland Browns Monday night. He had one of those receiving touchdowns, went for 93 yards. Bo Nix throws it across the middle of the field, a beautiful play. But be careful with targeting the middle of the field in this matchup, because they have guys like Derwin James, they have Denzel Perryman, they have a lot of guys across the middle of the field that will make you pay, and they would take the football out of your hands, and they could possibly take it to the house for a pick 6. But I do like the offense with the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix right now is just running into a rookie wall over the last couple of games. And this offensive line, from tackle to tackle, they have played solid. I look at Garrett Bowles at the left tackle position. It's the reason why you just went out there and you gave him a contract extension. He's a top offensive lineman with the Denver Broncos. I look at the right tackle position. You have Mike McGlinchey. He's a good, solid player to have. It just comes down to the interior in this matchup. Can you take advantage of those light boxes with the Los Angeles Chargers? And when I go back to that first game, Bo Nix, those 2 passing touchdowns to get it done. Him being the leading rusher is not ideal, but let him use his legs. When I look at the defense for the Broncos, this is what could win the Broncos the game. Their defense has been headhunting all season long. Nick Bonitto, I don't know what the hell has gotten into Nick Bonitto in the later half of this season. This kid is legit making a case to be Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm not joking. 11.5 sacks on the season. 2 forced fumbles. But it's more than just that. He's had 2 pick 6s in the last 2 games. One against the Denver Broncos, and he read a trick play last week against the Indianapolis Colts, takes to the house for pick 6. He has been phenomenal. He has to be a game record in this matchup. Besides Patrick Surtain, he's been the best player on this defense with the Broncos, and it's not even close in their front 7. And you also look at Jonathan Cooper, who is amazing at getting to the quarterback. You're going to have your hands cut out for you. And the same with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. Both of the tackle positions and the defensive end positions, they're going to pack a punch in this matchup. I saw a lot of fans complaining about the game last week between the 49ers and the Rams. This is going to be a defensive slug out game. So if you don't like defense, this may not be the game for you, because it's going to come down to offensive line pressure, offensive line protection, and defensive pressure. If this team can go out there and you can put that pressure on Justin Herbert, who's dealing with a hurt ankle right now, you're going to be okay. Stop that run game. Force those wide receivers to beat you deep down the field. Levi Wallace, I'm worried about him in this matchup because he was terrible against the Cleveland Browns, and it's not to his own fault. Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator, who has done a phenomenal job all season long, he left that kid in one-on-one situations. For the ones that don't know what a cover 0 blitz is or a bomb blitz is, you send everybody. Every man is only concerned about their own man. There is no safety help. There is no double teaming. Man on man. All the linebackers go out there. They cover their own men. They go to the quarterback. In this situation, this is the perfect team to run that blitz against, because you have Patrick Surtain, who more than likely will be on a guy like Ladd McConkey. You look at Jaquan McMillan. You can match him up with Quentin Johnson. You can match him up with another wide receiver like Joshua Palmer. Jaquan McMillan has been the second best cornerback on the team. Then Riley Moss is number 3. If Levi Wallace can go out there and stick to his assignment, I think you will be okay. And I look at the safety position with the Denver Broncos. They're very good there also. You look at PJ Locke, Brandon Jones, 2 very good safeties in this matchup. And you have John Franklin Myers and Zach Allen. You have run stoppers against a team that is struggling to run the football right now. I think the Denver Broncos have a great chance to win this game. It's going to be a repeat of what happened in the first encounter of both teams coming down to the wire, it being a close game. Justin Herbert has done a great job of taking care of the football, one of the best touchdown to interception ratios in the NFL. He threw his first interception yesterday against the Buccaneers. And that was his first interception that he has thrown since he threw his first interception earlier this season against the Carolina Panthers. With all of that being said, I know if you're a Chargers fan, you're down on your team right now. If you're a Broncos fan, you may be up on your team. You won the last couple of games. Your defense has looked amazing. This is a tough game to call. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers to win this game. And I have the Chargers winning this game 23-20. I have them win this game by a field goal, but it can go either way. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this game? The Denver Broncos or the Los Angeles Chargers? And another reason why I'm selecting the Chargers here is because of Bo Nix. The turnovers, they bother me. Justin Herbert is at least taking care of the football on a different level. I look at Bo Nix. He's been careless with the football. And usually when teams, when they go out there and they give the Chargers to 2 to 3 chances to go out there and score extra times, it doesn't work into their favor. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this game? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.